Hey, hey.
Hey, what's up, girl?
I'm excited for another lovely night of Misfits Managed.
As am I. As am I. And we
As
got
you
some boys.
as you if you're watching us, as you can see, my two little people, Cooper and Luke, are joining us for a short little time. They're excited. Um I'm excited for this topic tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good. And before we get into that, like, subscribe, and share. All of that fun stuff so that you know when we go live, you get to see all of our updates and everything that goes with us because you can't get enough of us.
Right. Like and share. Like and share. Like and share. Share and like. Hey,
I'm
but
trying to go backwards and my brain's tired, so it's not doing it.
right. Hey, but welcome, Misfits Managed Nation. This is Misfits Managed tonight. And obviously we've got a great topic tonight, but just to recap, last anything burning in your heart from last week?
um, I was really excited to hear Booker talk about the fact that he just dug in, but the fact of how much came at him during the process, and the fact that he's like, yeah, I almost quit. I like, this was hard. I almost gave up. I got a lot of criticism and a lot of, he was trying to reach out for help, as we do, and um, people weren't having it, and they weren't wanting to actually help. And the fact that he's like, he didn't let that stop him.
Right, right.
I love
Perseverance.
that. What about you?
Yeah, you got to push through. I mean,
What does it say?
he hit on several points and had valid reasons at any point to quit and step away, but he pushed through and made it work.
Yeah.
So, kudos to him. I'm proud of him for that. And it was a great show, and I'm excited that he's got part 2 coming for our audience soon.
Yeah.
I was hoping we would still recap on session 1, 3-4 more times and film it so it could go on YouTube. And
Yeah.
he talked about making a little movie about it, but so I'm hoping that stuff is still in the works. But
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you, the other part that I was really interested in hearing, and it was fun to talk to her, was talking to Renee about how she took on a role that was so completely on her, and she struggled with it. She struggled with how to be that person because it was so far from who she actually was, and that she almost, like, it took her up till the end to be like, it was that internal conflict that I think is so cool and is such a real thing for so many people who are not acting.
Well, okay, so you're hitting on the point. So she had to work hard to separate herself from the actor and the person. And I think where you're leading to is so many people walk that out every day.
Yes.
To stay the actor.
Yes.
They have, because real talk, we had one of our actors who couldn't separate that. And he became the part he was playing and lost sight of who he was as a person.
And he was talking about that towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's, I love that she was talking about that because it really is. It's so true that we take on this identity that we feel like we're supposed to play, and somewhere along the lines, I'm not going to say we lose ourselves because we're still there, but we allow ourselves to go dormant.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot to get that back. It takes a lot. Okay, these guys wanted to say hi. They didn't get to say hi.
Oh, okay. Say your hellos, buddy.
Oh no, now we're gonna be shy. You are not shy in any way.
Hi.
My little guys, Cooper and Luke, are getting used to the screen. Well, I shouldn't say the screen time, but the camera.
Hello.
As we see his whole mouth, his throat, all his teeth, tonsils.
We got to see all the way in there, didn't we? Okay. All right. So that is Cooper and Luke. Welcome to my ornery household, as you've heard me talk about so much. So okay, if you guys are going to hang on, you get to talk about what we're going to talk about with this. Okay. So as soon as we talked, or as soon as you reminded me about what we were talking about today, I was excited and I started chewing on it. And I will say this, and then I'm going to let you dive in a little bit because
Sure.
Well, you've got a lot of notes on this, so we'll let you dig into that. But
both of us, those aren't just my notes.
Oh, it completely relates to me too. I will give you that.
Down.
No. The two things that put Stuffy down. The two things that came to me we're talking about dream killers. Stop.
Okay.
We're talking about dream killers and fear. Fear
Okay.
is like the number one dream killer for me, and doubt.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you dig in and get these kids going.
Okay. Well, as Lauren has said, Mrs. Spanish Nation, again, welcome. She's putting the boys down, I guess. Looks like I don't know what she's doing, but Mrs. Managed. And tonight we're going to talk about dream killers. We all have them. We've all experienced them. I did a live on Facebook just before the show, probably about 11, 12 minutes out, and just kind of repeating some of the things that I said. But the big question is, how many of you have ever had a dream killer? You know, is that person that killed or thwarted your dream? And I would say all of us have experienced that. I've had several in my lifetime where I feel like I had vision in business. I had vision in relationships. I had vision in friendships. And I'm talking about romantic relationships and friendships, being an entrepreneur, biblical decisions. And I shared those dreams with people who just shot them down. So I know those are some small examples, but we have all experienced dream killers in our lives. Lauren, what about you? You experienced a dream killer once or twice in your life?
Once or twice doesn't even begin to describe that.
Right.
You know, the one thing I will say, and since we were talking about this, I was kind of muddling through this, and most of the time, the things that were dream killers for me were me allowing other people to be my voice.
Right.
And it wasn't usually heavy on the usually outside factors.
Right.
There's been people who have told me no 1.5 million times, because that's the human experience. And there have been opportunities that haven't happened, or no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. And you might say those are dream killers. really, in my experience, that has been redirection.
Mm.
And the dream killer, as I said, what has always been fear and doubt in my own head and it's been me allowing myself to stop me in whatever way it wants to come at me.
That's powerful. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is external tonight, but it's awesome that you started that with the internal, that the biggest enemy sometimes is the enemy in me, ourselves. Yeah. Look in the mirror, it's us doubting ourselves. It's us with our self-doubt talk.
Yes.
That's tearing us down, and we create the anxiety.
We
100%. Create the fear ourselves. So there's an internal battle going on, not to mention all the externals that we're about to talk about. So I'm happy that you brought that perspective before we even jump into this. That's awesome.
Well, and to dig in just a tiny bit more before we move on to that, that has been my week. Yes, I know it's Tuesday. I'm well aware of that.
But it's been a week already.
Not necessarily. It has been honestly good.
Okay.
But all of that stuff was, especially today, creeping in. I have been making some big moves, big decisions for myself and how I am personally moving forward in a lot of different ways. And today was a big step. I had a couple of calls, and, the more I talk through things on those calls, the more I'm like talking myself through it. And after I was done with those, like going through the afternoon and everything into my drive home, I started getting in the headspace of who's going to want you to do this? Like, you can't do that. And I had all of that creeping in of you don't have the experience. You don't have whatever you don't have what it takes. And luckily and unluckily, I've had that enough to where I can catch myself decently fast, but that's not to say it didn't still creep in. And I had to talk myself through that really quickly and be like, no, this is imposter syndrome sneaking in. This is the self-doubt. And I'm like, no, I am not going to let that stuff kill my dreams. I'm like, no, it's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. And it's going to be a roller coaster.
Right.
But I'm not going to let that stop me.
Right. That's awesome. Which, I mean, that kind of leads me into my story.
Yep.
Of Warrior Hoops.
Ooh,
so,
yeah.
In 02, 03, because of some dissatisfaction with my boys' basketball coaches and trainers, I was almost forced to kind of start my own program, almost at a dare from the previous coach. He was like, if you feel like you can do a better job, then go start your own team. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I'll do that. So I took a team of 10 boys with my middle son, Dexter, and basically launched a program. And that team went undefeated for most of the year and became nationally ranked in USSSA.
Okay.
So that brought some notoriety. My son was obviously a really good player, so that drew attention too. And a lot of the local kids wanted to play with him. So thus Warrior Hoops starts. And it grows and grows and grows to the point where I'm in turmoil because I'm working a full-time job, good job. My kids are young, benefits, all this stuff. But I have a thriving business here on the side that's taking all my time. And what was it that kept me from moving forward? Fear and self-doubt, what Lauren just talked about. So I had to confront those things. So I think it was April of 04, I made a decision. And I walked away from a good paying job, a 9 to 5, good paying job that had benefits and 401k and, the safety net, the
Right.
assurance of a biweekly paycheck. That was a pretty good check. And walked away into my dream, which was running a business for myself, controlling my time, controlling my dollars, and creating Warrior Hoops. Um, Full of fear, full of doubt. My father told me I was crazy. My friends told me that I was crazy. People, my peers in the industry told me I was crazy. The peers told me I was crazy because my program was a faith-based program. So, not saying that we were some Bible thumpers and walking around telling everybody about Jesus, but we wanted our example, our walk in the sphere of sports to speak for us. So not only am I starting a new venture as far as a basketball enterprise or program, but a faith-based basketball program. So, I'm talking about we prayed before our games in a circle on the court. We prayed after our games. We did Bible study and stuff like that in practice, just like it was a prerequisite to bring your ball and your water and have on shoes. And you brought your Bible and we did a study. So it was powerful. Fast forward several years later, now we're probably one of the second or third largest programs in the city, 285 plus kids, 28 teams, I think, at that time. And it just blew up. So the gamble, overcoming the fear, overcoming the self-doubt and self-talk allowed me to realize my dream and provide a very good income for my family and just help hundreds of kids reach their dreams and their goals. And several of those kids went off to play in college on a scholarship that was a free education. And I'd say a lot of those families, there's no way they would have been able to afford the education that their son and or daughter got. But because of Warrior Hoops, they were able to experience that. And then the countless people that were touched from the godly perspective. We created not only great basketball players, but we created disciples of Christ. So I think about all the great things that happened from that. But had I given in to the dream killers in the beginning, you touched on a point that I said all that to say this, that I'd say 9 times out of 10, the dream killer is someone that's close to you. Because a dream killer really can't harm you unless they're intimate with you. Unless they're breaking bread with you, unless maybe they're sleeping in the same bed with you or living in the same household, or you're riding to work together, whatever. You've known each other for a long time. A person that you value their opinion. So they have to be close to you to really be a dream killer, because that outside force, you can just dismiss that. So what do you think?
First of all, yeah. So three points I want to touch on that you just were talking about, because we've talked about this before, and I think because it is our dream, we make it about us, because why wouldn't we?
You should.
And as you were just saying, all of the different lives that were touched and the people that benefited from Warrior Hoops via the sport as well as the building of the faith. 2 different avenues
in one,
right? So many people put their ego in front, and they don't take into consideration when it gets hard, that even though they don't know maybe who, when, whatever, they don't realize that other people's futures and dreams are attached to theirs.
Yes.
And that is very sobering, because it makes you then feel responsible for people, but it also is like, oh, I gotta do this. And like I said, you may not know whose dream or whose whatever piece of their life is attached to that.
That's powerful.
That you've got to keep trudging.
I
So
would say
there's that.
sphere of influence. That we
Yes.
all have a sphere of influence, and because of your yes, it affected everybody in your sphere of influence.
Right. But you have to say yes for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be you have to be doing what you're doing for the right reasons for that to be true, because I've tried a lot of things and I thought it was for the right reasons, and obviously I'm not doing those things anymore. We won't go into what those are. But I wasn't doing those things for the right reasons.
Okay.
The other point I would say is I've always been one to where, even if I really didn't know people, if they were going to judge or criticize, I still took that to heart.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter if they really knew me. I wanted approval so bad that if somebody who didn't even know their name or barely knew them, whatever, came up to me and told me that I was crazy or something was stupid or whatever, name your list of things.
Right.
I took that very personally, and that killed a lot of confidence for me, whether they meant it that way or not.
Right.
I listened to it. Add in the influence of those who are very close to me, you can imagine how much more that did.
Right.
But the one thing, it was a really hard lesson for me to learn. I have learned very hard that not to take people's comments, criticisms, and honestly, some of the time they don't even mean them as those things. It's just, a one-off comment that maybe I take personally. I've learned to take people's comments, thoughts, opinions with a grain of salt.
Right.
If they are not doing what I do, have not done what I do,
right,
they can't understand the skill, the mindset, all of those things. If they are not in that space, I take that with such a grain of salt, because I'm like, it was a factor one time. I had just given a speech, and somebody could hear me in the background, and it was virtual, and I gave the speech, and they gave me feedback, and I mean, it was very much of a, like, it was Toastmaster, so it was supposed to be constructive criticism, like, here's what you did good, here's the opportunities for improvement, right? And then there were, I got done with the meeting and I came out and they were like it was kind of something about like, you had a lot of pauses, or something about the way I sounded. And at first I was like, I started to get defensive. And then I was like, yeah, like, it's something I love to do, so they're telling me I didn't essentially do great. And then I was like, they don't know a damn thing about what I was doing. They couldn't get up and do this if they tried, let alone as good as I just did it, even if it wasn't that great.
Right.
So, no. And then I got a text from somebody, and they're like, that was so good, from somebody that I very much respect in the field.
That's all
So
you needed.
take it with a grain of salt, because, and take into consideration where the criticisms are coming. And sometimes you have to take into consideration that people, because they love you, not that it's right, people are trying to protect you when they ask you not to do something. not to say you shouldn't still do it, but understand that what they're saying may be coming from a place of love and protection that they just don't know how to communicate, or they don't want to hurt you.
Right. I understand that.
So
I heard a lot in what you said. That last point, though, I'm going to touch on
okay.
toward the end in our
Okay.
closing, because I want to do something special on
Oh,
that. But
okay.
man, I heard a couple things. So I would say if you allow most people to project their fears upon you, you won't live.
Oh, yeah.
Say that again. If you allow most people to project their fears upon you, you won't live.
Nope.
You'll live, but you won't live your life. You'll live the life that they have designed and customized for you instead of you living your own life.
Yep.
So it's like that imposter syndrome at its best. You are what everybody else around you wants you to be, and you're stuck in a body doing and being things that you don't even care for or want to be. So as you were talking, you said approval.
Mm.
And when you're an entrepreneur or you're starting something new and fresh, of course, it's natural for you to want approval. But approval for a misfit, especially an entrepreneurial misfit, is almost like a cuss word, because you don't need the approval. The only approval you need is yours. I've learned in seeking the approval, that is what brings the self-doubt. That is what brings the fear upon. So, okay, if I'm going to take away my need for approval in this situation, what do I replace it with? And I would say my answer is success.
Yeah.
Success is the only revenge on dream killers. As you expand or grow, they shrink in irrelevance.
So you had something in your notes that is like the exclamation point to that. And I didn't used to be like this. I am now. Of somebody can sit there and criticize you and whatever. And it just makes me want to prove them wrong more.
Right. Well, as you get louder, as you grow, no one can hear them anymore.
Right.
You don't beat them. You're not trying to beat them. You just cast a shadow of success that's so big that no one can see them or hear them again. So they're that little chirping dog that's stuck to the chain fence or whatever that's in the yard that now people aren't even paying attention to anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
So I don't know. That's what I've just learned. Success, the ultimate success or the ultimate revenge against a dream killer is just to be successful and make that person look like shit. I mean, excuse my French here, but really.
You know, so today there have been multiple times, not just today, a lot of times in my past where I'm sitting thinking about like how I want to respond to something, and the empathetic person in me is like, oh, I don't want to do this because it's going to make them look terrible. But on the other hand, I'm like so pissed off, and I'm just like I'm like, stop doing this. And it's like a toddler that you don't discipline, and it just gets encouraged and they keep doing it. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is how they get corrected, but it also makes them look terrible. And today I was at the point where I was just like,
that can be your concern.
No. Right. So there are times that you can do something. The right thing to do is to keep doing you, keep being you, and let them dig their own hole. Because when you keep going, and I've heard so many, I will say celebrities, the ones that I respect for how they handle situations, I will say that, because there are so many people that fight back, but and I mean, we're right now, because it's football season, we're going to use them as an example. And yes, we're in Kansas City, so I'm going to talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. They get so much publicity, whether they like it or not, because of who they are and the stage that they are on. And as well as let's just throw the Mahomes in the mix.
I mean,
And they all talk about, like, they can say whatever they want and it doesn't matter, it's going to get ripped apart, right? And they all stand there and say, like, it doesn't matter, people are going to say what they want to say anyway.
Right.
So we're going to keep doing us, we're going to keep being us, and like, they can go dig their own hole, they can make themselves look absolutely terrible, like, that's not on me.
Right. They understand that we live in a world where everyone has the right to say whatever they want.
Yep.
Anytime they want. You cannot control that. You can't burn energy on things like that. It's about controlling the controllables. You got to remember, just as they have the right to say anything they want, you have the right to prove them wrong. Not by even interacting with them and giving them that energy, just by doing your thing. Go win so big that they start to compare themselves to you, and that you forget that they even exist on this planet.
Yes.
That should be the motivation.
And, you know, it should be the motivation. And unfortunately, so much of our world is, we got to fight back instead of just fighting for us, when in all reality, if we just let the haters hate and shake it off. Yeah, you heard my T Swift in there again. Note that the haters are going to hate. And the one thing I got to say about that whole statement is, it doesn't matter, and this is purely my opinion, it doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter whether you are doing fantastic, whether you are sucking at life, or you're feeling like you're sucking at life, or whatever the case may be. You're sucking at life in somebody else's eyes, because whatever. You're going to get criticism regardless. People are going to find a way to hate you, to criticize you, to tell you, if you're doing something wrong, you correct that, they're going to go find something else that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, you got to understand, the further you climb to the top, the more hands will be on your pant legs pulling you back down. Yeah. My pawpaw, or my grandpa to some people, but I called him pawpaw. I mean, he used to say that all the time. The more successful you become, you'll start to experience the crabs in the bucket syndrome. The more you gain success, the more crabs are going to be in that bucket pulling you back down.
Yep.
You got to know that. You just got to understand that. Go into what you're doing, knowing that's coming.
Yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, some of those crabs are going to be people that you love, trust, highly respect. Some of that comes from jealousy. I've learned that a lot. And those are some of the things that I've found you have to take with a grain of salt as well. And to add the extra piece in there, you're going to get even more attention and criticism being a misfit, because you're also going to do it different. And you're going to get told you're doing it wrong. You're going to get told that that'll never work, or, you know, insert whatever. You're going to get told that that you can't, that you're not good enough, you don't have the credentials, that you don't, no one's ever going to hire you for this, or you can't figure out that. And I used to not say anything to that because I would internalize it. You know what I started saying? Can you guess?
What?
Okay.
You can't give it energy.
Okay, in a sense of I'm not going to convince them otherwise.
Right. It's wasted energy.
And in my head, it was, okay, watch this.
Right. Well, and I just think about my life, my coaches or my dad,
Yeah.
who was probably my biggest dream killer, my father. Everything I felt like I ever wanted to do, he had something
Yeah.
to tear down. But the most powerful motivational speeches I've ever heard in my life came from people who told me that I couldn't do something.
Yep.
You know? So that put me in a place where I could give up and walk out on my dream, or put me in a space where I use that energy that, you know what, as you just said, you're okay, was my way of saying, now I got to go prove you wrong.
Yep. Yeah. And you posted something on that the other day. And like, I seriously was sitting there and I was like, oh, mic drop right there. But it's so true. And I mean, you gotta be able to keep the focus. And another thing that will always get harder as you make your way to where you're going is keeping the dang focus. It's been a hell of a struggle for me lately because I'm like, ooh, yeah, I want to do that, want to do that. And, things have kept coming at me, personal, professional, doubt, confusion.
Right.
I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to help these people. And one thing that really honestly has helped me is establishing and enforcing boundaries.
Expound
And
on that.
say, I mean, it sounds almost cliche, but it's so true. It's so true.
Well, you've got to have boundaries, internal. I would say more internal boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
because again, back to that other point where people are going to say what they want to say and do what they want to do, and you can't control that. I'm all about controlling my controllables. I cannot control that process, but how I receive what's said, whether I internalize that, I mean, that's the biggest I take away from what I feel like you just said, is I've learned now to keep that external and not internal. I don't bring that type of information inside. And by doing that, it helps me to evaluate that person. And when I look at that person, yeah, I'm in a new space. And maybe even in the beginning, I'm fumbling my way around in that space. But what I realize is you're never going to meet a hater that's doing better than you in the same space
Oh, yeah.
you're looking in. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
very person is trying to tear you down. But if they tried to enter into the space that you're trying to enter in, they would have nowhere near the success that you're having.
No.
But I think by setting, as you said, setting that boundary allows you to kind of step back,
Mm-hmm.
pause for a moment, and reevaluate the entire situation. And by keeping that noise on the outside, not bringing that noise in the inside, because once you bring it on the inside, now it creates chaos, which results in fear, self-doubt, and we just go on and on.
Yep.
So I feel like in 2024, that's one of the areas that I've really grown in, is keeping that noise on the outside, realizing I can't control what people are going to say. I can't control what people are going to think. I think about in dating, and situations happen and you make mistakes, and, you try to apologize or fix or correct situations, and people have their own viewpoint. I was that guy that I didn't mean that like that. I didn't mean to say that, or didn't mean to do that, trying to explain and prove myself. But I've just learned to realize people are going to believe what they want to believe.
Yep.
And you know what? I let them.
Yeah.
I've just learned to let them.
Well, and as the saying goes, other people's opinions are none of your business because you can't control what they think, you can't control what they say, and you can't control what they do. And that was a huge thing for me to be able to release, was controlling that, because uh I mean, let's be honest, I'm still working on not being defensive in some cases, but
It's a process.
yeah.
Give yourself some grace.
But no, but for real, I have come so far in not, apparently there's a car alarm going off.
I was like, what's going on in your hood?
Um no, our garage door was going down, and apparently our keys are really sensitive. Squirrel. It took a really long time for me to be okay with being like, yeah, that's fine. You don't get it, and I don't expect you to, which is a big one of your points on there that I absolutely love, because this is another thing. It took me, God, way too long to really get, and this also comes from my need for approval too. Um, I want approval so bad because, um, well, that's like a whole nother show plus some. But I you've got on here, um, don't expect don't expect other people to believe in your dream the way that you believe in your dream, because it is not theirs, it is yours. And that's part of what I honestly love about the this community and being a misfit, is because when you can learn to release that and release needing other people to buy into your dream, you attract the people that do.
Right. But Lauren, I want you to pause, because since you have that point up, I want you to read it as it's written.
All right.
I want you to, you're basically saying this to yourself.
Oh, for sure. I don't expect you to believe in my dream the way that I believe in my dream. It's not your dream, it is mine.
Okay, so say it again, but this time the entire time with full conviction.
Okay. I don't expect you to believe in my dream the way I believe in my dream. It is not your dream, it is mine.
Yes. Yes. And that's all that matters. What
Yeah.
I don't know in all things is the secret of success. Some things I know the secret of success, but in all things, no. But I do know what the secret of failure is. And
No.
that's trying to please everyone.
Oh, yeah, that's impossible.
Trying to please everyone. I mean, how many of us do that? As we just talked about, we are actually the expert in that subject matter, but we listen to the noise of the outside people, and we allow that to change our thoughts or our opinions or our belief, or even the very direction that we're guiding
Yeah.
the business or whatever it is that we're running. That's madness. What is the Jenny saying right there?
You will always have haters and those who do not believe in your dreams because they can't see themselves in those dreams.
Right.
Yeah. And there are, yeah, some people who won't come with you into that dream. And that's a hard reality for everybody to face. Um I so that makes me think of, I know you've sent this to me a couple times. What is it, the eagle and the crow
Depends on where you're going
flying?
with that.
Because
Oh,
in
I know where you're going. Yes, yes, yes.
okay, you can tell it better than I can, so you discuss that.
The eagle, the one bird that is bold enough to fly or mess with an eagle is a crow.
Yeah.
but the eagle pays the crow no mind, gives it no energy. At the point that it becomes a disturbance to the eagle, what does the eagle do? He just flies higher. And why does he fly higher? Because he enters into a space or a realm that he's equipped for, that only he is equipped for. He or she, male or female eagle. But
the air gets thinner.
And what happens to the crow? He falls off, chokes off, or dies because he can't stay in that elevation. And if we don't learn from that experience, we are crazy. That when the haters are barking and chomping at us and pulling on us, we got to elevate and rise or ascend to a higher level within our space. We're the expert. And as we do that, the noise is quieted because that person now falls off. That's what I was talking about earlier about the focus should be just be so successful that they start wanting to be you.
Yeah.
They stop hating on you and then they try to figure out how to emulate you and be you. Now that's a whole different problem.
I had a conversation about this with somebody, a group on Friday, actually, because I was talking to another speaker and she was frustrated that somebody had I don't know if I didn't hear the whole thing very well, but she was mad because she was like, yeah, somebody essentially stole my content.
Oh.
And we were talking about proprietary property and intellectual property and everything like that. And there was a couple people on there that in fact said, as much as it sucks, that's like the best compliment you can get is somebody trying to steal your stuff and be you because you're that damn powerful.
Or that good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeannie says, once I finally pursued my dreams and goals, she was terrified, but at the same time had more peace than ever. She trusted who God created her to be.
That's powerful.
That is powerful.
That's
I answered a question just like that today from somebody.
You did?
Uh-huh. Part of my conversations that I said I've been having a big week, I had a conversation with somebody today who I've given some detail about where I'm going because again, it is somebody who has done what I want to do and
you value their opinion.
Yes. And I said, okay, this just happened earlier today. What do you think? And she goes, well, how do you feel about it? Are you excited, terrified? What are you feeling about it? I said, I'm obviously I'm a little terrified, but I couldn't be more excited. And she's like, okay. And it's that sense of like it's the unknown. Of course I'm going to be a little terrified. I'm crazy if I'm not. But it's that sense of passion and excitement that comes out more than anything of let's go. Let's do this.
Well, it's two paradigms, or you could say, break it down, it's two dogs.
Yeah.
Do you feed the dog of excitement or do you feed the dog of fear?
Yep.
Which actually, there's a couple points that I want to end on tonight
All right.
powerful that feed into what you're talking about.
Let's do it.
It's interesting that you went to what we said earlier. A dream killer has to be someone that's close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be just a stranger because there's no weight or value to what they have to say. But a dream killer, it's always the one you're dating, the one you're married to, those who are in your family, some of your friends, and or someone in your immediate circle that will always try to talk you out of doing something special and significant. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That's one of those ones when I was reading that and going through that, I'm like, And I kind of reflected on life, on all the different people who, as you, to your point earlier, that were close to me, that I valued their opinion because of their proximity or the weight they carried in my life. And those were my biggest dream killers.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I thought would have supported me and had my back and understood, and just because it was my dream and I was that important to them, that they would just accept it. And it's always, those are the people who cut us down. Where a stranger, you can explain it to a stranger and they may not get it, but they will support. Hey, come on, girl. Come on, boy.
Yeah, they're the people that are like, I'm gonna be your biggest cheerleader. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So that I'm still chewing on that to understand, why is that?
Which part? Why is that?
Why is it that it's so easily accepted by a stranger versus someone who is in our sphere of influence? That husband, that wife, that boyfriend, that girlfriend, that best friend, that family member, someone
So
in our circle that's important to us.
I think I can give you a little bit of an answer to that in my experience and the perspective that others have given me in this long, fun roller coaster of a journey. The people who you are closest to, good friends, maybe not even longtime friends, but for sure longtime friends, family, the people who know you the most. Those are the people who know what they consider your weaknesses, what you consider your weaknesses. They've seen you struggle, they've seen you fail.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen you at your worst. And they are protecting probably themselves and your relationship, but they also have their insecurities that they project on you, as well as there's some protection for you in there, because as much as that's not how they should show love, um people think that they're protecting you by telling you that you shouldn't go do this thing that could very well send you into a, you know, nosedive tailspin, or something that could um, really almost, I don't know, emotionally, mentally, physically wreck you, because they don't want to see you like that. They don't want that in your relationship. Again, not to say it's right, but that's how it's been explained to me. And when I frame it from that lens, not that it makes it right again,
No,
but
I
it
get.
makes it a little bit easier to accept, and accept why they're doing it. Because as you said, why would they be doing that if they just want the best for me? It's a very demented, almost form of protection and love.
Right. I think you summed up my point very well. I mean, that they may not do it with the intention of harming, but rather to protect you, to keep you safe, and prevent you from failing. But those, especially the failing, that's how we grow.
Yeah.
So you handicap me by not allowing me to fail, because my greatest growth experience is coming out of failure. So it makes me think about my relationship with my father, who I said at the beginning, probably the person who was my biggest dream killer was my father. Literally everything I ever dreamed of and decided was my father. But in reflection now, especially in his last days, now that he's passed, I really, as I was writing all of this, I really had to confront that. I've always said my mom was my biggest advocate because she was so vocal. She was so loving. She was so attentive. She verbalized her support. You were talking about that,
The
the
affirmation.
approval.
Yeah.
We needed that affirmation of approval. Whereas my father withheld that and did different things to push where I thought maybe he was pushing to destroy, but he was only pushing to build.
Yep.
That I would even have to say he may have been my greatest supporter because he saw things in me, especially as a man to man.
Yep.
Your mother's going to see special things in her son, but the things that a father sees in his son, oh my God. Now I reflect on that yes, his intentions were to not harm me and to protect me and keep me safe. But where I feel like he failed was he didn't allow me to fail. He prevented me from failing. So that was an experience, a growth experience that was negated for me because he kept me from that. And his intentions were well, out of love, as you just articulated. But I think it pushes me to the point that we just talked about before, where I had you do it. Now I guess I got to do it. I don't expect you or anyone else to believe in my dream the way I believe in my dream. It's not your dream. It's mine. So even with all of what I just said, at some point, the beast mode has to come in. The warrior, whatever it is that you got to call it, has to step up to the plate. That dream is inside of you for a reason. And I would even venture to say that dream is inside of you because it's God ordained.
Uh-huh.
God himself birthed that in you, that purpose and destiny was created before the foundations of time. And God simply wrapped the flesh of Lauren or the flesh of Gary or Misfits Managed Nation. He wrapped you around that purpose and that destiny. So it's innate for you to do. You were born to do it.
Well, and so the one thing I would say to put a nice, pretty bow on that
We gotta have pretty bow.
is I have tried to put everything I do down so many times because of the criticism, because
Right.
things got hard, because I couldn't see how it was going to happen and I didn't like it. And by God, it kept coming and things kept happening saying, here, I'm here again. And it kept resurfacing until finally I've figured out how to move forward and what it looked like. And when it won't leave you alone, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And you have to get on board with the fact that it is your dream. The one thing I would add, though, to that is to the people who you think don't understand your dream, they may not understand it the way you want them to understand it.
Because really, they're not meant to. It's not theirs to understand.
No, they're not meant to. But if you can keep going, be open and honest about here's what I'm doing, here's what I need, and keep going in the sense that you're showing them that you're not stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And then make moves that allow them to support you how they are talented and what allows you to mesh talents, because most of the time all those people fill in the gaps that you can't fill. So find a way to make it mesh, even if it's not how you thought. And there will be some hard times, there will be some big talks, and there will be some healing in that. Goes without saying.
No, I like that. I think, especially in a relationship, a romantic relationship or a
Yeah.
marital relationship, we all have strengths and weaknesses that we bring to the table in that relationship.
Yep.
And I think number one is that partnership provides support. Just
Yep.
because it's something you want to do and it's a burning desire in your heart. I understand being cautious, safe, all that, but just because it's something you want, I feel like there should be support.
Yeah.
And then I think you add what you just said to that is that person, the way they show their support is their strengths. Maybe you're not strong in certain things within even the same thing that you're wanting to do, the venture
Yeah.
or the enterprise, whatever it is you're trying to do, but they are in a particular area. That's the way you show your support.
Yep.
But I know I wanted to end on this point that
Okay.
you told me to say earlier. I think you forgot. I was waiting on you to say it, but I'll just throw it in here at the end because there are those people who are out there that don't want to deal with that criticism. So we just wanted to tell you there's 3 ways you can avoid criticism. Now, this isn't me because I'm not doing any of these, but I'm just saying for the sake of argument, if you want to avoid the criticism, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. If you don't want conflict, you don't want people in your business, you don't want to be different, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. And if you do that, no one's going to criticize you.
And I'm going to counter that and say, doesn't matter what the hell you do, you're going to get criticized. So do what the hell you want.
Right.
And do what the hell you're supposed to do.
What is that Jenny's saying here? It's so refreshing. What does she say?
So refreshing finding that person who supports you.
Oh.
And you support them. You feel comfortable to come to them even when you're struggling or in a valley. Absolutely.
Just want to let you two know another great and amazing show. I was watching y'all while watching the 2 candidates go back and forth yelling at each other and all along those lines because they've been going at it. And definitely it seems like being an interesting debate. And I'm sure both of you are watching in your own time and everything. But yeah, they're just having too much fun. And maybe they need to listen to some of the advice that you were given because both of them have a problem with criticism and all along those lines. So maybe they need to listen to you because sometimes
I bet it's a circus.
They don't know how to deal with criticism and all along those lines. And even as you know, Coach, in the sports realm as well. But here to get out of here with this mental health PSA, but I've been following y'all and definitely seeing another great show and everything. And of course, I'll send Lauren the audio version so she can get help.
Mark it on the air.
Yeah, that's it on there and everything. Because yes, I'm transparent and everything. It's my new word and everything. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that it's done correctly and all along those lines. But definitely a great show, and I am a big fan of addressing criticism because sometimes we have our friends that are being critical, and sometimes we have to listen to that criticism and all along those lines. But we also have to know that sometimes people are being critical in their own selfish reasons as well, because sometimes people are critical. Exactly. They have their own selfish reasons for being critical. So we need to understand the motivation for the criticism as well, because sometimes the criticism might be for a reason that is not pure in heart. And I'll just leave it at that and everything along those lines. Oops. It just did something weird that I was not expecting, but there we go. It did something weird. Like I said, the computer decided to have a moment of its own and everything, but definitely it was definitely interesting in that space because, like as you both know, criticism can be something that sometimes folks are critical of us because they have their ulterior motives. And I know you know that as a coach, and I know you know that as a business coach, Lauren, because sometimes those criticisms can be because they have some underhanded reason. You've got a girlfriend now. I think you said you're another half coach, and I know you've got a husband. But I know when y'all in that dating space, sometimes it's because they want to steal the job or steal the woman and everything. So there are different reasons that people can be critical because you sometimes have to see their motivation and all along those lines. So I'll just leave it at that in my own 2 cents worth in this conversation because we sometimes
let me give you this, Mark. This is for Lauren because she's a Swiftie, and she missed it. I was like, surely she was going to grab this point. We live in a world where wait, where'd it go? There will be times that you put your whole heart and soul into something that is met with cynicism and skepticism. You can't let that crush you. It must become your fuel to success. That's your girl. That's her quote.
Oh.
Hey, speaking of being a Swiftie, Lauren, I was just wondering, since we had it and I mentioned on the other show, I know a lot of people, because I mentioned I was watching the debate, are waiting to see where she will come this time on the debate stage because last election, she backed Biden and everything. But she did have some major news this weekend that people were surprised at, even though not overly surprised because they expected it to happen. But I think some people wanted a little bit, and speaking of criticism, some people wanted a little bit more show, because sometimes if you are a celebrity, they want you to do the show type of announcement. But her and Travis have announced that they are engaged and all along those lines, because that happened over this weekend and everything. Yes, they did make it an announcement this weekend that they are engaged, but they did it, I think it was in New York, and it was more quiet than usually at everything. So, but I think people were expecting the Super Bowl announcement or some other kind of announcement, but I think it was after his first game, because remember he played Kansas City on a Thursday game, so they were in New York when he made the announcement and the proposal, and I think she accepted and everything from what I read and heard and everything. But it did happen. I remember hearing correctly and all along those lines. But that being said, people sometimes, speaking of criticism, want the more big show, particularly if you are of a celebrity status. And I think they decided to go the under the radar approach and everything, which is probably smart on their part.
That speaks to Jennifer's point that she left us with. So that might be our final thought today.
Yep. Cool. And on that note, we'll go out with a mental health matters PSA that I oftentimes play on y'all's show, if that's all right. And we'll get out of here with that. And like I said, we'll see y'all back next week when I won't be as distracted by crazy debates and everything. So I'll probably be engaged more.
This is your boy, Coach G.
And Lauren.
Yes.
We out.
We out.
We are sending you signals every day.
We are sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
I'll be feeling sad, but you're too busy to notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you that I'm feeling afraid,
but you'll just tell me everything's okay.
I'll get real angry about something, but you'll take it personally.
We are sending you signals every day. My grades will drop.
And you'll yell at me for not trying.
I stopped caring about how I look.
And you didn't even notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I don't see my friends anymore.
And you think it's good that I'm always home.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you, I wish I could go to sleep and never wake up.
And you tell me to stop staying up so late.
We are sending you signals every day.
I need you to look.
I need you to listen. And ask me if you can help.